Thanks to all of you, and I think maybe now it might be interesting for Zita Arocha to give us all a bit of her perspective on this very important new initiative at UTEP. Zita?
Hello there. I still can't believe you can see me. Can you see me?
Candy.
Great, I can see you. Welcome, everyone, and I don't think you can see the rest of the room, but we have a lot of folks here from the Department of Communication. We've got local media here. We've got folks from the Development Office, from our IT office who are making this wonderful event happen today. We've got just all kinds of folks. We've got the Associate Director also of the Donaldson Center. Dr. Singal is here with us today. Dr. Ruggiero, who Dr. Natalicio mentioned, Kathy Rogers, who is the head of student publications here at UTEP, and we're collaborating with her on this wonderful project. So we've got a full house here, even though you all can't see them. And thank you all for coming today. I'm just going to say a few words. I think that your questions are actually going to be of more relevance to this whole project. And we've got Borderzine on the background. I hope you all can see the website. We've been posting stories that were produced here this semester so that there's brand new fresh content on the website if you want to take a look at that. A philosopher once said, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one tiny step." And today we celebrate the milestone of having reached, I think, the 1,000th mile. Here's Borderzine behind me. And the first step toward our next 1,000 miles, and thanks to the Knight Foundation and your generous support. This project, though, I have to say, began over 30 years ago when a young Latina reporter just starting out in the news business landed her very first job in the newsroom of an afternoon daily in Tampa, Florida. There she discovered she was the only Latina in the newsroom, and as the paper's only Spanish speaker, she was always sent out to cover stories about Hispanics in the community, oftentimes in Spanish. Next, she went to work for a Spanish newsroom of a large metropolitan daily in Miami, where she wrote about the Cuban and Latino community. Here, a boss told her she would never work for the English section of the newspaper because English was not her native language. Next, she went to work for one of the nation's most prestigious newspapers in Washington, D.C. She was hired to replace the paper's only Latina reporter, and for the next 5 years, she continued to be the only Latina face in the newsroom. Of course, that's a long time ago. That was 20-some years ago, and things have changed. Now Hispanics comprise about 4% of newsroom personnel nationwide. But much more work needs to be done. I have to say that 20 years later, Borderzine is the product of the frustrations of that young reporter, who of course was me. And I had those battles and many others as well. The idea germinated about 7 years ago when I started at UTEP as a lecturer in the Department of Communication. Speaking with students throughout the college and colleagues in the department, the dream began to take shape. The dream was an online bilingual newspaper where young Latino student journalists could publish their stories and begin to build a portfolio, as Dr. Natalicio mentioned, to present to recruiters as they went out in search of internships and jobs. To help them obtain internships in El Paso and throughout the country, which would then give them a leg up to enter this competitive business that many of us are in. To provide them with multimedia journalism skills to land jobs in the industry. Thus, with the help and hard work of many people who are here today, and now with this generous grant from the Knight Foundation, we celebrate today the official launch of Borderzine.com. The grant will allow us to take the prototype that we started over the last 9 to 12 months with the seed grant from the Ford Foundation, and to really begin to turn it into a national model for training and placing young Latino journalists across the country. Very briefly, and some of the goals have already been mentioned by Dr. Natalicio, by Jose, and by Mr. Kebbel. Borderzine will train students using multimedia tools, digital cameras, audio-visual recorders to develop news and feature stories about their Latino communities. Their content will be about borders everywhere, whether international, like El Paso, Ciudad Juarez, or community borders in places like Chicago or Los Angeles or Miami. It will work with recruiters to place students in internships throughout the country in online print and broadcast media. We're already placing students at places throughout the country like Univision, Telemundo, San Antonio Express News, Al Día in Philadelphia and Dallas, TV stations in Dallas, Tampa, other parts of the country, at the Scripps Howard News Bureau in Washington, D.C., and their papers throughout Texas. And Borderzine will partner with more than half a dozen Hispanic majority schools like UTEP around the country. The first one I'm very happy to announce today, and unfortunately they couldn't join us, but the first school of this partnership is Imperial Valley College in Southern California, with a Latino student population of over 80%. We are now looking at other schools and universities and community colleges in places like Philadelphia, Chicago, Arizona, New Mexico, Florida, and other parts of Texas as well. So basically those are the goals of Borderzine. We will give you a chance to ask your questions about exactly how it will work. But before we go on to that, I'd like to thank many of the people who are here today who believed in the dream and helped us launch Borderzine. The two have already been introduced. Dr. Tom Ruggiero, who teaches journalism in our department and is the person who designed and developed the new multimedia journalism curriculum that we hope to launch next year for the department. And Professor David Smith Soto, who's a senior lecturer and who teaches journalism in the department and digital photography. I'd like to also acknowledge any of my other colleagues in the department who might be here. Dr. Singhal, who is a recent addition to the Department of Communication. Unfortunately, Dr. Patricia Witherspoon is the former head of the department, and who, without her support, I don't think that this would have happened, this project, because of her incredible support for student initiatives here at the university. I'd like to also indicate and acknowledge two of our contributors over the last 2 semesters to Borderzine.com, 2 students who are here today, Armando Segovia, who spent a summer at the Al Día newspaper in Philadelphia writing stories and learning how to be a journalist. Very proud of him and his contributions to Borderzine. And Sonai Perez, who's also a student of ours, who's a contributor to Borderzine and actually came back from her internship this summer at Al Día in Philly and said, I want to continue to contribute to Borderzine as a student. I don't need an internship, but I just want to do it for experience. So I acknowledge her and congratulate her for that initiative. I want to especially thank the development office at UTEP, really without whose help I would not have been able to put together this incredible grant proposal, especially Dr. Robert Nava, who is here today, to Darlene Muguido, who is here today and helped write and put together all the numbers that came together under this grant. There's someone very special to me who's not here today, actually who's no longer at UTEP, but really sat down with me and helped conceptualize this thing on paper, and that's Roberta Cohen. And then last but not least, the folks here who have helped to organize today's event. Samantha Dina, Silvia Hernandez, Audrey Price, Ingrid Aguirre in development, and the technical staff of Herman, who I hope is here, who runs this wonderful communication center.